timely meeting was called by the Medicare Defence Committee, a group formed last June out of concern for the future of the public hospital system. Represented at the meeting were pensioners, unions and the unemployed, groups who feel they have the most to lose from any changes to Medicare. Mr. Noble, why do you think the doctors are out to scuttle Medicare?
Well, I think they want to shift emphasis towards the private hospitals and also towards private healthcare in general, and that's something that we're very angry about. The public health system really does benefit the majority of the people, and particularly people that are not so well off, and so that makes us very angry.
Do you think they're doing it for reasons of financial gain?
I think that's one of the reasons, but I think they also have some philosophical reasons for wanting healthcare centred more around private rather than public.
After several hours, the meeting produced 2 pages of resolutions. Among the more hard-hitting is a demand for an end to direct government subsidies for private hospitals and a call for unions to place bans on private hospital building sites. The resolutions will now be sent to both the state and federal health ministers.
Brake safely. This is the kind of exercise defensive driving experts see to simulate improvements of sport, showing how we can steer around the track. Unfortunately, most drivers freeze on the brake, with the inevitable result. In the open road, there are far more deadly obstacles than witches' hats to dodge. Hence Volvo's involvement in the new safety program.
People are doing what they think to be the right things, but they have never been shown, never been taken out, put in a motor car and say, now look, just that simple exercise we're doing with the braking. This is what happens if you brake too hard. You will simply lose control. And the more you push on that brake pedal, the more loss of control you're going to have. A simple relaxation of brake pressure will often save the day, instead of stand on the brakes and pray.
Peter, with our own driving safety program, Drive Alive, we've been saying the same thing, that you've got to get back to the person behind the wheel accepting responsibility for driving. You convinced that that's the way to go?
That's right, Jim. I mean, there's the road and there's the car and there's the driver. And the only thing that the driver really can do is keep control of himself and the motor car and drive within the environment that's there. You can't just go running around blaming the road all the time. The driver is where it begins and where it ends. That's where the responsibility starts and stops.
The roustabout block is not an easy one, moving from town to town, setting up the thrill rides and sideshow alleys. But there's always something exciting about arriving at a big show like Newcastle. Every year new attractions are added to the season's favourites. The president of the Show Society, Mr. Ken Barley, says one of the most sought-after sideshows is making its first appearance
I've seen it for at least...
The Pearl Show is like a miniature pearl industry. From the oyster, which has been transported in formalin from Japan, to the thrill of opening the oyster to see what is hidden in the flesh, and finally to the polished product, setting jewellery. The value of the pearls vary by about $100, so it really is in the luck of selecting the right oyster. Once again this year, the ring will be packed with events, with the State Show Jumping Council Championships being held here for the 3rd time. But how has the ground stood up to the recent heavy rains?
Well, it's been beautiful rain, and I think you can see from the ring out there now, it's in the best condition. I've seen it for at least 5 or 6 years.
This show will also launch the International Year of the Youth in Newcastle, with the highlight being the 500-voice choir on this stand on Saturday night. The Urban Transport Authority is also playing its part to ensure that the show is a success.
This bus stop at Belford Street, Broadmeadow, is where passengers can embark for the free shuttle service to the show this year. It's the first time this has been tried, and a spokesman for the Urban Transit Authority says it should cut down the congestion that's become a part of the Newcastle show.
The fight began with Peavy doing exactly what he said he could, trying to stay away from the opening stages. But the Wollongong fighter is making it difficult.
In the second round, it was Bishop. Peavy struck back with real aggression, and the blood started flowing. The Southern silent Henry and his obsession with aggression began to accommodate for the young Newcastle fighter. In round 4, Peavy hit out literally, hammering Henry mercilessly. Miraculously, the visitor survived. Henry said he'd keep coming, and coming back and did, in the next round and the next. The boy from the south coast just wouldn't lie down, and the Peavy corner was starting to get concerned. For the next couple of rounds, they simply slogged it out. Then it seemed like Peavy had begun the softening up process. Going into round 9, suddenly there was a totally unexpected altercation. Referee Joe Keegan ruled that Henry was unfit to resume the fight, but Peavy had other thoughts. He wanted to fight on. The matter was settled, the fighters shook hands, and Newcastle's Craig Peavy was crowned the new New South Wales Junior Lightweight Champion.
You may find it hard to remember the finer points of the show each year. To them, it's a massive colour, with lots to see and lots to eat. For the parents, though, it can prove to be an expensive exercise. What with Mr. T. Nark,
this is what David usually looks like.
Sample bag, and blind fish, $1 a piece. With one complex, it only comes around once a year. Thanks to the young Today is also the first day of the winter. Also, Thanks to young the fun continues online.
Always a highlight in Sydney is the show jumping, who is some of the action from the A-grade. This is Kevin Burke from Sydney. He went on to win the round. On this clear round, Burke, an ex-Olympian and regular international competitor, displays his controlled winning form, riding grey or lane. Second in the A-grade went Chris Chugg, while John Fay, seen here on a clear round, finished third. Fay was a busy man. He was also responsible for exhibiting a champion quarter horse under saddle. And speaking of quarter horses, perhaps the ideal soft horse breed, the competition also in Centrine among the classes was of a high standard. This class is the quarter horse mare, 3 years old and over. Judge Barry Smith from Williamstown carefully peruses before awarding the class to B.D. Dock, with the bird going to Miss Effort. Champion Stallion quarter horse was Washington Barnes. Earlier, the Appaloosa Top Awards went to Champion Stallion J.A. Zosby from Sanford Vale, while champion mare was Chinaka Unicom Devon. Outside Centrine Fence, the onlookers sat peaceful. Not always exact in store of what was going on.
I'll take
However, there was more superior playing with the judges the Ayrshires are the brown and white stock, and here the Ayrshire Age Bulls class proved yet another victory to Gloucester's Bill McIntosh in Fence. Ayrshire judge, a young Brett Hager from Camden, was having his second running experience as a judge, and he enjoyed working with the high classes stock. The Frisian breed is more prevalent in the region, and the 17 classes have judged hard working flat out. Friesians dominated the Ayrshire when in direct competition. In the interbreed dam and daughter class, for example, Simpson and the Simpson of Denham took the honours for the Friesians. In the group class, Friesians was not then the one-on-one showdown for the champion cow of the day. Ayrshire, represented by class champion Bill McIntosh of Barrington Greeter, versus Friesian heavyweight Shipton Sentinel Scenic from the Downs family's Paddington stud at Dartford. The winner, Shipton Sentinel Scenic, by a long back and wide bridge, so the judges said.
Diane Machin was brutally strangled with a piece of wire in October last year. She was talking with a friend on the telephone at the time, in the dining room of her home in Heddon Street, Broadmeadow. The friend heard the scuffle over the phone and alerted neighbours, who made the gruesome discovery. The pet dog was also found lying in the backyard. It had been stabbed with a kitchen knife. The man charged with the murder was 17 at the time of the attack, and his name cannot be released under the Child Welfare Act. In the trial, the man pleaded not guilty, but the jury took less than an hour to return a guilty verdict.
Before handing down the sentence in the Supreme Court this morning, Mr. Justice Lee referred to a number of reports which were presented on behalf of the accused. A report from the Department of Health says that the accused had shown a gross dependency on his mother and came from an unstable family background. Various doctors' reports highlighted antisocial behaviour in the past. In handing down the sentence today, Justice Lee called the act an act of cold-blooded murder. He said the accused had shown no remorse at any time, and he handed down a sentence of life imprisonment.
The centenary show is Newcastle's biggest ever, with record sponsorship of $135,000 and record attendances well up on last year. With this in mind, it was a festive opening by the Chairman of Directors of BHP, Sir James Baldwin.
It gives me great pleasure to officially declare open the 1985 BHP Centenary Newcastle Show.
The show also launches the International Year of the Youth in Newcastle, so the Minister for Youth and Community Services, Mr. Frank Walker, was on hand to perform that official duty. Mr. Walker says the recent criticism about the lack of organisation behind the International Year for Youth is unfounded.
We have something like 76 of young people from all around the state on the committee organising it, and they're tremendously enthusiastic and very good, and some of the best are coming from this area, Newcastle. They've been very active in getting T-shirts made and organising events throughout the community and getting local councils and local organisations all fired up. I think it's a very good year, and it'll be a great success for the youth of this state.
Meanwhile, Sideshow Alley continued to do a roaring trade, with youngsters and adults alike dipping into their pockets to try to win just one more prize. The rides also proved to be as popular as ever, with the more subdued heart sticking to the slower rides. The exhibitions also attracted the crowd, with BHP being voted the best exhibition by the Newcastle Businessmen's Club. But one of the more unusual exhibitions, the Quick for Life Smokebusters, also attracted its fair share of fans.
This was the approach to the shopping complex at opening time. Long lines of traffic were waiting to move into the huge car park, with police manning busy intersections. The situation was aggravated by Lake Macquarie Council roadworks, which closed about half of Warners Bay Road. The complex has parking for 1,200 cars, and finding a place wasn't an easy task. Inside the complex, it was also bedlam. There were so many people in some shops that the air conditioning system was struggling to keep things cool. At the Corvette Manchester store, 10 checkouts were operating as more than 100 shoppers queued to pay for their goods. In the Big W supermarket, the ringing of cash registers was matched only by the numbers of preschool children waiting patiently for mum and dad. A fully supervised child mining centre, provided by the developers and leased by the council, will soon be opened. And judging by today's opening response, the $20 million investment looks like a winner.
At this point in time, 2 of our members have been dismissed by the Public Service Board. They had an involvement in a hostel type boarding house out at Millthorpe, and they are directors of the company. They became involved in this hostel with permission from the Health Department, and subsequently, for reasons unknown to anyone, the Public Service Board has decided to inquire into it and told them to divest themselves of their interest in it within 7 days, which obviously they couldn't do. The letter arrived 4 days late, so it left them in the situation where they just couldn't divest themselves of that interest.
Are they prepared to divest themselves of the interest if they had sufficient time?
If they'd have had sufficient time, they would have divested themselves of the interest and complied with the Act.
Where would that leave the hostel, which I understand is housing 34 former patients from here?
It's housing 34 former patients from, well, not from here, but from all over the state, and it's employing 6 people. If the hostel closes, obviously those 34 patients will come back into institutions like this, and the 6 people will then be 6 more unemployed.
This will get underway on Monday, with job seekers being urged to complete this questionnaire available in CES and Social Security offices. It's hoped educational level, marital status, suburb and other information will be gleaned, providing a current, detailed and accurate profile of the unemployed. The survey also seeks to assess the attitude of job seekers to their plight. In 1980, a startling fact to come out was that twice as many women as men were unemployed, and for far longer, even though on average they were better educated. Dave Brown wants to find out if
very
things have
important
changed.
point, because we know that the unemployment situation in the Hunter has drastically become worse. We're looking at something like 16%, the estimation is that we're looking at something like 16% unemployment. And that is one reason why we wanted to do the survey again, to get another profile of people 5 years later, to see what changes have taken place in that time.
Well, what will you be doing with the information you glean this time?
We'll be trying to educate the community about how people feel about being unemployed, and trying to inform them of who is unemployed, the types of people who are unemployed, as you say, the male-female breakdown and things like that. We'll also be hoping to influence the people who affect training programs and job creation programs, our local politicians.
Hundreds of people were on the Wyong Council Chamber steps at 4 this afternoon, and the anger was obvious. The residents object to this year's 12.6% rate increase, well above the 8% normally allowed by the state government. The protest meeting unanimously voted to refuse to pay the rate. The residents have asked the council for a satisfactory account of how it spends its funds. Another motion was passed calling for the Minister for Local Government, Kevin Stewart, to investigate the operations of the Wyong Council and consider appointing an administrator. As well, a petition will be sent to the state government calling for legislation to inquire into the management of the council and possible incompetence by Mr. Stewart. On top of
Every single one of this shire is loads of drainage. We just make this just not to put in the road. At the end of the year we'll do the same.
Clues, Castle Crag, or somewhere like that, but is certainly not appropriate to the Wyong Shire. I understand that Mr. Harry Moore, the local MLA, has said
indicated that not only to council but also, given the low financial resources of the people of this shire, of which the council has already acknowledged, I believe that it was inopportune to levy those types of charges this year, and I believe that approaches could and should have been made at an earlier stage to the Department of Local Government and to the federal authorities for extraordinary grants to cover the necessary expenditure of council.
This meeting has asked the Shire President for some answers. Do you think that the Shire President is going to give any satisfactory answers tonight?
I hope the Shire President will try and give satisfactory answers. I am not optimistic that he would be capable of doing so.
Lambton High is without teachers and without students today, one of 19 high schools which it hasn't...
They're all advised not to keep cars around, or are they just liaising?
While the classrooms are deserted, there are plenty of teenagers spending the day on the beach. A large number of teachers, meanwhile, were present this morning in a mass meeting in the Broadmeadows Police Force Club. Before them were 3 resolutions. The first called on the government to reinstate Mr O'Neill, who was sacked when he refused to transfer, saying it would disadvantage his students. The second resolution calls for deputation to local members of the Legislative Assembly and Council, calls for telegrams and papers to the Premier and Minister for Education, and calls for a delegation to travel to Sydney for next Tuesday's Industrial Commission. The final resolution is staffing formula, which the Teachers Federation says will lead to a fall in teacher numbers and a reduction in the curriculum choice for students. State Federation President Ivan Paget.
The dispute should have been resolved weeks, almost months ago. There were many opportunities, but the Minister for Education was determined to force a confrontation to distract attention away from the broader staffing issues. We aren't going to let him do that. There'll be a major advertising campaign, including television advertising, beginning next week, which will highlight the government's shortcomings in the area of staffing our high schools.
Fine, that's good, thank you.